Hi everyone, this is Lorraine and this is Felix. And Felix is 9 months old. He has 2 teeth. He looks like he's probably gonna get 4 more on the top relatively soon. Not right now, but relatively soon. Cool tricks that Felix does now. He still crawls pretty much backwards, 360 backwards. Like if he needs to get somewhere, he'll turn himself around. When he's sitting now, he can actually like kind of reposition him to sit any way that he wants. So he can turn himself while sitting. He can pull himself up, or he doesn't really pull himself up, but he can stand with some kind of assistance holding on to something. He has moved forward crawling. I've witnessed him do it twice, and it had to be he was reaching for things that he really wanted, but he did go forward, but he still is going primarily backwards. I read that some babies never really crawl forward. Graham was such a fast forward moving crawler that like standard textbook crawling, like nothing out of the ordinary. So you know, it's fine. We always say that this is the lazy baby because he just likes to be entertained by everyone. But sometimes those lazy babies surprise you. As far as words go, he has said mama, he has said dada, not often. The pediatrician did say that if they say it one time, it counts. So he has said those things one time. He makes other noises. He waves, which is so cute. You ask him to wave to people, usually he'll just wave right back. And it's not necessarily like this kind of wave. It's sometimes like he gets real excited and he'll wave both hands. Sometimes it's like a little like twist of the fingers like this. He's working on it, and it's super cute and super cool. We had an appointment for him last week, his 9-month appointment. He was 19 pounds, 3 ounces. He was 28.75 inches. And his head, I can't remember his head size, but it was more on the higher spectrum of like on the scale, like 90th percentile. He was probably like 75th to 90th percentile for head. His weight was like 50th percentile, and his height is somewhere between 50 and 75th percentile. So he's pretty standard baby, but he does have a little bit of a bigger of a head, but I have a big head too, so I wouldn't expect any less. As far as napping goes, it's hard to say really, because there was a period of time where he wasn't feeling that well, and he's finally just started to feel well again. But his napping is usually car naps, so when it's just on different parts of the day, he'll nap while we're in the car, because we're usually in the car at the same periods of time every day. And then in the afternoon, I usually will take him for a little ride in the car, and he sleeps in the car. So he's not really as good of a sleeper as he was when he was first born, where I could get him to go to sleep kind of at home. It's been a little bit more difficult. He's needed a little bit more help, and I think it's because he hasn't felt that well. So I've had him sleep at nighttime in my bed, in the DockATot, and we have transferred him over to the DockATot Grand. But for the past week, he hasn't wanted to fall asleep in the Grand. He's just wanted to fall asleep kind of next to me, a little bit closer. So I've got to try to get him to go back in the DockATot, because I hate having to be like stuck in the bed, and that's what it's been for the last week or so. It's been me stuck in the bed because he just hasn't felt well. So it's fine, you know, but we don't want that to become a major habit. So I want to get him back in the DockATot, maybe eventually in a bed. If he doesn't go in the bed, it's not that big of a deal. Graham was 3 before we got him to sleep in his own bed, and he still sleeps with Brian, comes in my bed, all kinds of fun stuff. But he's a thriving individual, so it's not a big deal. As far as clothing size goes, he is in 6 to 12 month clothing, 9 to 12 month. I bought a couple things that are 12 to 18, but they're on the big side. Size 4 diapers. He's generally a very, very happy baby, so that's why I know when he doesn't feel too well is he's not as happy, and he just wanted to sleep all the time. That was it. He just wanted to sleep all the time. So he just wasn't necessarily feeling his best because he was just wanting to sleep. That's kind of how I knew. There was one day where he really wasn't feeling well, and that was like the day before his pediatrician appointment. And he didn't smile at all that day, and usually he smiles so much, but by the next day he was like pretty much himself again, and he didn't have any signs of sickness or anything at the pediatrician. Also at the 9-month appointment, there were no shots. I thought there were shots, but there are no shots until the 12-month appointment. He's sitting on the floor playing. It's super cute. He's with me the entire day. So I go into work, and usually he wakes up right when I get into work. So he's there with me. I'm either holding him, he's sitting on the ground playing with some toys. I do have a baby cage. I forgot what it's called, but it's the 4 Moms Breeze. I call it a baby cage, and he'll sit in there if I have to do a lot of stuff. And I need both my hands, I have him in there. That's especially if I need to do shipping and input stuff in the computer, because I can't necessarily have him on me if I'm doing all that stuff. If I'm packaging stuff up, I can do it, but if I'm trying to input stuff in the computer, he's got to go in his baby cage or be on the floor or something. He's still breastfeeding, and he feeds when he wakes up, or not necessarily when he wakes up, right before we leave, he feeds at about, like right before 8, then he feeds again at 10, then he feeds again at 12, around 2, 3, and then at 5, and then he's down to go to sleep by 7 o'clock. That's why I can't get stuck in the bed, because he wants to be in bed at 7 o'clock. And he wants to be in our bed at 7 o'clock. So the car ride thing where he takes naps in the car, he doesn't want to fall asleep in the car at 7 o'clock. He wants to be in that bed at 7 o'clock. And then he maybe eats, he wakes up to eat, but he doesn't really wake up. He just eats, and then he's up again at about 7:30. But if he does wake up during the night and he's wide awake, I'll put on like Secret Life of Pets, because that movie is magical for him. If he's upset in any way, you can put him in front of that movie and he is happy, and he actually will watch the entire movie, which is crazy to me. So he'll just actually sit there the entire length of the movie. If you have it on for him, he will watch that whole movie. So if he wakes up in the middle of the night and it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, I will sit him up and he'll watch Secret Life of Pets, or I'll put him in his Baby Bjorn bouncer and put that movie on, and he's happy, and then he lets me know when he's ready to go back to sleep. Usually if that happens, he is ready to go back to sleep within about 10 minutes, but yeah, he doesn't really stay up in the middle of the night, so there's never really been an issue there. Or if he wakes up in the middle of the night for some reason, which hasn't been for a while, it hasn't been this month at all actually, I'll get up and get a shower and stuff like that, but that hasn't been this month. He's been pretty consistent about sleep, because that's what he's wanted to do, is sleep. I don't do like mommy and me classes or anything like that. I don't really expose him to other children. I never did with Graham. It's really just him and I and the adults that we interact with during the day, and Graham, which Felix is a huge fan of Graham. Graham is, you know, his #1 person in the whole world. He loves Graham. So that's about as exposed to other children as possible. So if you feel like maybe bad because you're not exposing your baby to other babies, I wouldn't feel bad at all about it. Graham now goes to school every day, which is my 4-year-old. He just turned 4 this past month, which is crazy. But he just turned 4, and he is probably one of the most popular kids in his class, and he was never exposed to other kids. He's just very well liked His teachers always tell me how well liked he is. Yeah, so I wouldn't ever feel bad about not exposing your kids. Just do whatever you can and teach them. Everything in the world is absolutely brand new to these babies. So even if it's just grocery shopping and that's what you're doing with your baby, I always talk to Felix along the way. So I'm walking around with Felix in the baby carrier. The baby Bjorn is how I do all my grocery shopping and everything with him. I haven't really done any cars in the cart yet. Just for whatever reason, I like him there and it's been working. But I have him in the carrier and I'll just be like talking to him randomly. Oh, look at this. This is blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, these are yellow, blah, blah, blah. You know, oh, I'm gonna get some strawberries. I'll just kind of talk out loud, and that's the exposure my baby gets. I'll read to him during the day a little bit, but a lot of stuff is just life things that happen during the day, and I just speak to my child and speak and describe everything that's going on around me. I'll be driving and I'll be talking to him. Just keep talking all day, and it's basically just talking to yourself because they're not responding. But you make eye contact and they love it. What else? He loves soft books. He loves a lot of the same toys Graham liked as a baby, so a lot of those things. We try to kind of have like coffee every morning. So he sits at a table in his little fast table chair by Angelicina, and he sits there, Graham sits there, and we all interact in that fashion. Yeah, life has been really good lately. Both kids were sick, and it's not fun when children are sick. But you know, you try to do as best as you can. Everything currently about this child is absolutely perfect. I just ordered his convertible car seat because my goal was to keep him in the infant car seat as long as I could. And I feel like he's approached the time where it's time to change his car seat out. My advice to anyone that's considering switching over from the infant to the convertible car seat is, does your baby fall asleep in the car seat and you bring them into places? Because once you move them over to that convertible car seat, they will not, you'll have to unbuckle them and take them out. So that's the consideration to take whenever you're thinking about switching over from the infant to the convertible, because a lot of times as new parents you want to keep going on to the next step, and not living in the now as much. You're just like, oh, I can't wait for them to start crawling, I can't wait for this. But it's like, sometimes it's nice to just let them just kind of do everything a little bit more slowly. And that's what I've learned this second time around. That is it for now. So if you have any questions, feel free to post them below. And I will see you all with another video soon. I'm hoping to do a 4-year-old update with my son. So if you have any other questions for him, post those below and I can put that in the video. I do have a 7-8 month update because everybody keeps getting sick. It's what happens when they go to school, is they start getting sick. And that's what happens when you go to those play dates and stuff. Kids get sick. So when they're around other kids, they get sick. Graham was never sick until this past year, and it's just like so much sickness. It sucks. But yeah, I did film that video, so that'll be up, and it'll seem like these videos are very close together, but I just haven't had a chance to edit that video, so they'll both be up kind of close together. But that's it for now, so goodbye.